Okay, well, let's get started. So what I want to do in this video is talk a little bit about profit maximization and what it really is and why it's so important. And I will say this is probably one of the most important principles in Econ 110. So when we're looking at profit maximization, what I want you to engrill in your brain, okay, just tattoo it on your arm, whatever it is this. When you see profit maximization, you should immediately think marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. And this is always true, whether it's true of perfect competition, monopolies, whatever. Okay? And so anything, and it's what it's saying is this is when a firm is perfectly competitive. Sorry, not perfect. Is profit maximizing. It's the quantity at which the firm will produce in order to maximize profit. Okay, so anytime we find where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, it says how much the firm will produce at that point. Okay, so what does that mean? And so in one of the past videos, I defined what marginal revenue and marginal cost was. I decided to do it again here, just so we can remember. So marginal revenue is the revenue of making one additional product, and marginal cost is the cost of making one additional product. And so, well, first of all, if that's all you needed to know, great, you can stop the video. This is the point of the video, is just helping you know that marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. The rest of the video is just going to be a proof of helping you better understand why this is the case. So if you're not interested in that, that's okay. You can go ahead. Alright, let's keep going. So, just to give you a little bit of an example. Let's say we have a firm, let's say it sells Beanie Babies. And the marginal revenue of making a Beanie Baby is $7. Well, let's actually flip this. Sorry, I was running through this. Let's do it the other way. So let's say your marginal revenue is $10 and marginal cost is $7. So currently marginal revenue and marginal cost are not equal to each other, which means they are not profit maximizing at this quantity. So they would need to produce more or less in order to earn more profit. And we'll prove that in a second and what they should do, if they should increase output or decrease output. Let's say the quantity they're currently producing is 10. That means they're producing 10 Beanie Babies. Okay? And then, sorry, I'm moving the microphone. Let's say that, so your total revenue, because profit is 20 right now, and say the total revenue is 50, and total cost is 30. Okay, so that means if we were to increase output by 1, because the margin revenue is 10, like we go back to our previous definition, so if we increased output by 1, and margin revenue is the revenue of making one additional product, so it's the increase, it's the change of revenue. So that means total revenue increased by 10. So let's say we do increase by 10. Let's say we decide to increase quantity by 1. We want to produce one more Beanie Baby. What's going to happen to the revenue? Well, marginal revenue will increase by 10. Marginal cost will increase by 7. See where I'm getting that from? By 10, by 7. So total revenue will now be 60. Total cost will now be 37. So what's my total new profit? 23. So now you can see that the profit is increased by 3, which means it was greater than before. And that's because marginal revenue is not equal to marginal cost here. So you would keep increasing the output until they're equal to each other, because then once they're equal to each other, it means that you've made as much profit as possible. That's why marginal revenue and marginal cost is important, is because if marginal revenue and marginal cost are not equal to each other, it means that as a firm you can still be earning money. Now this is also important because, well, let's do it the opposite way. Let's say that, and so another thing, before I do the opposite way, another thing to note is that it will, as you increase output, the marginal revenue and marginal costs do change. They're not fixed. And so eventually, as you keep increasing output, they will start to equal each other. But you need to keep increasing output until they equal each other. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. Now, let's do it the other way, because sometimes you need to decrease output in order to maximize profit. So let's flip everything. Let's say now that marginal revenue is 7, marginal cost is 10, quantity is still 10, but now we're going to make it a negative profit. So that means total revenue is 30, total cost is 50. Okay? So what will we do in this case? We still need to maximize profit. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Okay. So how do we maximize profit? So let's say we decrease quantity in this case, because when marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue, we decrease quantity. So our quantity goes to 9. And so that means we deduct, because we're doing one less. So we do, for total revenue, minus 7. Total cost, minus 10. Okay, so now our new total revenue will be 23, and our new total cost will be 40. So now our new profit is, that's right, you got it, negative 17. I don't know if I went over this in one of my past videos, but I feel like sometimes I'm like Dora the Explorer and just talking to you guys like you're tiny. Anyways, so this is your profit. It's negative 17. As you can see, you're increasing profit because you're decreasing output. And sometimes that's needed to maximize profit. So you would keep doing that until marginal revenue and marginal costs are equal to each other. That means you've made the most profit. Another thing to note is to maximize profit does not necessarily mean you're earning positive profit. It's just meaning you're making as much money as you possibly can. Sometimes you're still earning a loss, but you've minimized that loss. So you're maximizing profit / minimizing loss. That's what it means. Okay. Hopefully this makes some sense. We're also going to show this graphically. Okay. So this is a perfectly competitive market on a firm side, as you guys know. It should be familiar by now. And here are so marginal cost, average total cost, and then this line I call Mr. DARP to help me remember. Marginal revenue is equal to demand, which is equal to average revenue, which is equal to price. So let's say, like we talked about, marginal revenue is not equal to marginal cost. So we'll say marginal revenue is actually, in this case, greater than marginal cost. And we already determined, in that case, you increase output. I'm just going to prove it again on a graph. So in this case, your marginal revenue, we'll say, is right here, because this is a quantity you're producing at. So your quantity is right here. So marginal revenue is greater than your marginal cost. You see that? At this quantity. So how do we get to the perfectly competitive point that we want to be at? Well, you have to increase output in order to get to where profit is equal to 0, where you've maximized profit. Okay, so that's what we have to increase output in order to shift the line. And then the same is also true when marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue. add a quantity in order to get to the point we have to decrease output. Hopefully this makes sense. Adam out.